This conference will now be recorded.
What? 6. Dinner was actually at 5:30. So the fat guy's missing their dinner, so
I'm sorry you're missing dinner.
Yeah, I'm hoping the
So
wood fire will still be open.
I see Dave
I
is
know.
with us. That
Yeah.
gives us a quorum, right?
We just need 4.
Vote online if he's virtual.
No, that is not true.
It's not true?
Because last night at Fire Board, we had to have a unanimous decision for our joint powers, and
As long as you have 4.
one of the guys didn't show up, so we called them and they voted that.
Oh, and Brian's here too. So we're good.
And I
It's
think we talked to Matt about it, and Matt said it was,
Dave's
Yeah,
on.
Oh,
they
sure.
talked.
We can't sit double D.
They did, but yeah, they're in the process of doing that, but if everybody agrees to it, who's gonna call it out?
There he
so
is.
there he is. He's on the airplane.
Yeah,
Oh, that's it.
he's
Yeah.
flying to San Francisco.
Who is actually on the airplane?
Yeah.
That's
He said
amazing.
he's about over Denver, right, David?
Yeah, so we had quite a
I
delay.
think he's trying to hide the fact that he's online on the airplane.
I think his microphone is off.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on an airplane right now, so.
Alrighty, well, let's call the meeting to order. Do we have any additions or corrections to the agenda?
We'll move 6B up in front of 6A. And then we took, from the first agenda, I took off Dirk Cedergren withdrew his application, well, he didn't really apply, showed interest in being the EDA.
Okay.
So that's been taken off new news.
I'd like to ask a little bit about the Keller Parkman project, where that's at now. If we could, just to get updated.
Yeah, I don't think it's any different than tomorrow night at the city council meeting. The city council will hear the recommendation from the planning and zoning. And that's as far as I think it's gone since then.
Well, we did vote to do the tip so that they could apply for their grant.
Yeah, I don't need to interrupt the agenda now, but if you want to,
I would say that's
You
all
could
that's
add that
been
too.
changed.
Yep, we can talk about that.
Yep.
Down below there. Alrighty, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So move with the adjustments.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's passed. Did you see that thumbs up, Miranda? Dave?
Sign language for Dave.
Yep. Regular meeting minutes from March 20th.
I'll move we approve the minutes.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion's passed. You see the thumbs up again, Miranda? Or will you watch that later?
I don't do, how many.
Okay. Monthly financial reports and accounts payable.
Did you? I figured it was something like that. But you are.
Something that we were questioning from last month.
Oh, it was the small amount. And Kim just put that on there. Oh, crap. I forgot what it was.
Okay.
It was a small amount that were left for a couple of revolving loan funds, I believe. Okay. Yeah. And she just put them on there to show us.
And I see that $819 was paid to the architect for the church project.
Right, and then we'll get the reimbursement. Right.
Yep.
Did you? Okay.
Cool. And then we're still expecting a full report on that, or?
Yeah, I have the feasibility report here
Okay.
for everybody, and I put it out in the packet as well.
Sounds good. I'll make a motion, we accept the monthly cash sheet for the month ending March 31st, 2024.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's passed. Public hearings, none. Old business, then we will start with the finance committee meeting, state theater financing.
So you can see in your memo, your packet, 6B, the Finance Committee met on Tuesday, April 9th, which was Mr. Haugen, Mr. Dahlin, Ms. Simonson, and myself. Mr. Hill was not there because it's early in the morning, I believe. Committee agreed to the following loan amount for the State Theater. The loan is a gap loan for expenses to get the lobby project started, as Roxanne came and told us. And what the committee came up with is a $20,000 grant along with a $30,000 loan at 1% interest rate. Interest will be forgivable if the loan is paid off in 12 months or less. The length of the loan was 5 years, and you can see where the loan would come from, and the account number would be account number 404, and the total amount we have in that account is listed there as well. Because you're taking it from 404, the EDA does not need to take this to city council, but it does need to vote on the terms of the loan and the grant.
So that's the recommendation from the committee.
Yeah.
That is the recommendation.
I like it.
Can you summarize just a little bit about how you came to that recommendation?
Yeah, I'll try. There was discussion about how much the theater had actually received in grant money from the EDA in the past. And I think it was,
50,000, I think, in the last 10 years
yeah,
is kind of, I think, the number when I talked to Dave Dallin about that.
yep. So that's, and because of the money that we have in the particular fund that it would be coming from, we felt that it is a very good draw for the city of Zimbrota. It brings, a lot of people from outside of Zimbrota. We wish more people from Zimbrota would go to the theater, but it does bring a number of people from outside of Zimbrota into town as well. So that's where the grant portion came from. And then the loan amount was just to bridge that gap, and realizing that it probably would be repaid relatively quickly. We voted to charge minimal interest and then waive that interest if it's paid back within a 12-month period.
And I think part of it too, by what Dave said, is I think they're getting a lot of grants. They expect a lot of grants coming in, so they just needed some money to
They're just not
bridge
here yet.
that time before they get it. So there may be even a chance that they not even need that money or
Exactly.
all of that. But they want to protect themselves so they can pay the vendors
Yep.
when the work's done.
Which was another reason for the partial grant, is that they might not even need loan money, so. Okay, Dave, does that kind of cover it?
Thumbs up. All right.
He's by the window.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the recommendation.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's passed.
Thanks, Rox. Thanks,
Thank
Dave.
Thank you. I'll tell you one more feel-good story for our community. On April 6th, no, April 9th, or April 6th. Well, we're partnering with the parent-teacher organization, and we had about 125 kids at the movie on that Saturday, which was wonderful. They're going to be doing a series of those, so that's a great way to get the community involved in our theater. And that night, we had a tribute to Patsy Cline. And I'm a transplant to Zumbrota. I've only been here 40 years, but one of the people that attended was Fran Bailey, 96 years young. And what was cool about it, she loved Patsy Cline, but she also had great memories when she was 9 years old, coming to the theater and seeing Roy Rogers, Gene Autry, and Shirley Temple. So I just tell you that because when I hear things like that, that's really what makes our theater so special for our community. So thank you very much for your support. I really, really appreciate it, as does everybody else.
That's a good story. Cute.
It is a good story. Okay. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
All right, on to billboards.
All right, you had homework. And if you didn't do it, that's okay. Bob actually has been in contact with Ken Quatrain as an executive with Reagan. And we got Ken's suggestions are kind of here because he's might know a little bit more about than us. So the two suggestions that Ken suggested are listed on your packet. How you can see this first one here is on Highway 52 north facing sign. It's on the right side or west side of the road and it's near Cannon Falls. And you can see the price for this one will be about $550 for 4 weeks. And it's a $600 production cost. And they will work with you for free to come up with a design. Now, I had Miranda get after it on the computer, help me with the design because the one I made was terrible. So if you take take one and look at around. This is a possibility of what it could look like, just to see.
If you don't like it, I shouldn't.
If you don't like it, she's sitting right there.
Don't complain about the splashing pan on the back.
But Zimbrota, we've got you covered. Home of the last remaining covered timber truss bridge in Minnesota. And what we're covering are schools, festivals, recreation, arts, industry, housing, retirement, retail businesses. If you have something else you think you should go in there, I have not taken this to ZEBA yet. If this is something that the EDA is planning on pursuing, I would take it to ZEBA and then maybe they get a little, I don't know if they'd be interested in I don't know what ZEBA would want to put in there. If they'd want to put just their symbol, whatever they have, and they could pay a little bit of money for that. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. The other one you can see on the next page is a possibility, but this one's pretty expensive. Northbound Highway 52, it's a south-facing sign on the right or east side of the road near Orinoco. It's illuminated. The traffic count you can see is there as well. The cost for this one is $1,200 for 4 weeks, and the production cost is $1,200 as well. And then I wrote on there, if you have another billboard you thought looked pretty good, the money for this would come out of our account 403. It's our, it starts with a P, I got it right here. Promotional expenses. So we have $7,200 in our promotional expenses budget for the EDA. So if you feel this is something that we'd want to go forward with or look into more to help out the city, it's fantastic. If you want to be done with it, not interested in billboard, whatever you guys think.
I think it's a good idea. And I think that although I like this little, it's not gonna play big. Because
No.
they won't be able to see it.
No,
So-
this was just kind of a
Just
concept
to-
of what we
okay.
were like, the wording that we wanted, and
So you gotta remember, you're driving by, so you're not gonna
Right.
have a lot of words. And I wouldn't say that's too many words. You get the gist of it.
But I think if you blow it up to a billboard, I would think you would be able to read all this in that.
No.
You don't think so?
Drive by billboards now and pay
Too much,
attention. That it will never get read. Just pay attention to that. And I think we can come up with something,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's too many things.
I think we need to talk about, first of all, how long do you want to run this? Is it going to be a 3-month, 1 month?
Right.
They're talking quite a bit of money here. The $1,200 a month one, he recommended, it's a great billboard, and he recommended it for that reason, but it's too expensive, in my opinion.
That's what I was thinking.
But there's another one that when we talked, having the billboard on the right side as you're driving is best,
Yeah.
rather than having to look across to see it. So that's what we kind of focused on.
'Cause this one is looking across.
No,
That one's
these are
looking.
both.
On the right side.
As you drive, you're looking to your right and you see them. But there's some other ones too that are not as expensive. There's one by Pine Island. So we could pursue those, but I guess we need to talk about the budget. If you want to spend this for 3 months or 6 months, or what we're gonna try to accomplish here. And then get Ziva's input, and if they're gonna help cover the cost a little bit, why, that'd be nice. But,
But
so
do we need that,
need what?
Zivas? Like, because,
Not necessarily,
right,
but if we wanna promote the retail, more heavily, it would help, but we don't necessarily need it.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not sure what Ziba would want, other than putting their stamp on it. Ziba, Saprota Independent Business Association. They would put individual businesses on there, I would assume, like, because that would be too large. I mean, listed.
There was one billboard that,
it's hard to know how much room we're gonna have on this billboard. Like, are we gonna put like real pictures? Are we gonna do more of the cartoon bridge? Are we gonna do our actual bridge? Are we gonna do how much wording? Are we gonna, I don't know.
I think on a billboard, the more graphic you can be, the better. The words should be punchy, and
Yeah.
that's all they're gonna see.
Have you seen the one going south?
So I was almost thinking we could, I don't know what Ziba wants to do, but I was thinking even if we split it, or I don't know how much they want. I think they want help paying for it, which is a good thing, I think.
But
But
what's their
punch.
purpose for the billboard? Do you
I think to get people to come and shop or come to buy it. You know, we have
Spend time
great
in Zumbrota.
businesses in Zumbrota that offer a lot of things, you know, try to get that message across probably. I'm not sure. And then, I mean, ours would be secondary to me because we want to say Zumbrota and we want to say yes, but to get someone from a billboard to say, hey, they got retirement places there, you know, I mean, I don't know if that's, we got to come up with a clear message about what we want to say is basically what I'm
If you
saying.
do something graphically and then just say Zumbrota even with an exclamation point, you'd almost have it. I
Yeah,
mean,
or just the
something that
logo. I mean,
you
just
see.
boom, there it is. But I don't know, I think we should have some, I like, we've got you covered, but I think it goes over. I almost want it to be funnier, like something really, you know, like, wasn't it Oregon's? Just, it was something about weird, or was it Austin, Texas? Something,
Yeah,
Well, I
well,
tell you what,
Subway's
the guy-
got one where they got just the word
The guy that
sex.
really.
yeah.
And it says, now we have your
Sex
attention.
sells.
Coming
The
to
guy with
Subway.
his wings,
Chris
Yeah.
Lindahl?
he didn't get
Yeah.
a lot of credit out of that. Of course, he had him every half mile.
You know, something punchy for a billboard would be,
That one when you go south, smoke, and it says smoked meat, not meth. I think it's so dumb, but I look at it every time. Yeah.
but you know the name of the business, you know.
Smoke.
Well, just like
Yeah.
Chris Lindahl, every time you see the arms outstretched,
Yeah.
you know what that's gonna say.
Mhm. So I don't know,
You know what
we
it's
just have
all
to
about.
try to think of something, but maybe
All you
talk with
catch
Ziba.
him and really is his name. And that's what you want.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I also think that we should do this at least for a year to get some feedback on, does it do any good? Do we want to keep on doing it? But I don't think 3 months is going to tell us that. I don't think 6 months will. I think it would have to be at least a year.
So a year, and this is 600, for example, this one would be 600 for what, a 4-week rate. So we're talking 26 periods at $600.
Well, I
Well,
think
it
the
just
production
depends.
cost itself is just a
4.
one.
Oh, I know, the production
Okay.
cost,
So
but I mean the
6,600
monthly.
plus 600. We're at 7,200 if we went with this particular billboard for 1 year.
That's 600, was it?
It's 550 for 4
550,
weeks.
yeah. Here's one coming.
It's not 550 per week. It's 550 for 4 weeks.
4
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah.
So it's
Times
26 4-week periods. No, what am I thinking?
No, 12.
Basically a monthly.
It's a month.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, 13, basically.
Yeah.
For a year. Yeah, you're right. Here's a billboard coming out too, that's on the right side coming out of, but it's closer to Orinoco. It's smaller and it's off a ways, but it's still very visible. It's a little smaller, but it's 600 for a 4-week period.
Is that on northbound on the east side?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked at that one too.
But I think also talking to them and having them help design it would be
Yeah.
good too, because they know what works. Dave, wake up.
I'll just,
I'm here.
I don't know, I think I'm struggling with and I'll just be completely honest, I think I'm struggling with focusing just on Ziva because there are so many other businesses and places to shop and retail and things that will draw you into Zumbrota. I just struggle.
I understand that,
But you are a member of Ziba and his wife is a member of Ziba. I'm a past member of Ziba. Of course we want to look to Ziba. Like this EDA
Ziba's
group,
the
I feel
only-
is so focused on Ziba that,
well, it's the only
It's
business
like-
group we have.
because they didn't want a chamber.
That's not what happened.
Okay.
Not what,
I would respectfully disagree with,
we
That
had,
statement.
we had what was essentially a chamber and it just died off. And this was the only group that kind of kept something going. And it's the only one that has money and wants to pay, go to it, that has a group. That's all I think. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying that's what we've got.
but that's why I'm saying like, why include them at all? Why can't we make it a City of Zumbrota billboard?
Well, we don't have to, but
Or depending on what
I
input
just
they're
don't
having
know if
involved, like,
our covered bridge is enough to draw
Right.
people in. Maybe,
so maybe no billboard then. Spend our money somewhere else.
I think if you look at it more globally than what you're looking at it just for Ziba, I think if you just had a billboard for Zumbrota, the whole idea is to bring people to Zumbrota, get them inquisitive about Zumbrota, have them stop in. You know, if they go to the retail district isn't the only thing they're going to encounter. They're gonna go elsewhere. You'll benefit from it. Everybody ultimately benefits. People come to town. The one thing about Zumbrota that happens is people refer people to other retail and other places. They don't just shelter them as their own little customer.
right.
So that's the good thing about Zumbrota. And somehow I'm hoping that we can get a bigger organization, a chamber or whatever. Ziba could be part of the chamber, but my goal would be to see a chamber that includes everybody, with Ziba being a subgroup of that possibly someday. But I think this is all about getting people to the community. Even if, like I said, even if it just said Zumbrota and something that drew them to Zumbrota, everybody's going to benefit. It doesn't have to be about one group.
That's what I think what we were trying to do with this design was kind of encompass the whole community. Like just kind of like entice people, not just to visit for the day, but to like want to live here. Was kind of what we were envisioning for the billboard, I guess. When we were going.
Maybe I'll go talk to Ken. I'll set up a time and go talk to Ken Quatrain and.
Yeah,
see what
I'd
we can
appreciate
find.
it if you would get a hold of him because he's been calling me about every other day and we haven't even met. So please don't.
So because I have his stuff.
Salesman.
But, for example, we have the Habitat big fundraiser on Tuesday night, and the Zumbrota folks downtown have put together packages. They've donated, it's $1,200 worth of material that's going to go on an auction at Habitat, and it covers the whole county, and there's 220 people there. And they're not going to be the ones fully benefiting. People are going to come to Zumbrota because they attracted them here. Now, hopefully, you could take onto that and get some of that business or whatever ultimately. So that's really what it's about, is bringing people to Zumbrota.
My whole thought on it is that if they want to help pay for it, that's going to save taxpayer money and that's fine with me.
Yeah, that changes the equation. Put some money in.
Right, I mean.
And I guess, so I struggle seeing things in my head. I like to see them on paper. So I guess I'm struggling to envision what they would possibly want on a banner other than their business name. I think that's what
I don't think they could put,
like Shops and Broda, like I get that, but like you said, I guess if they want to pay for something as little as that. I don't know.
I would think they'd want to put Meet Me in Zumbrota on there. Isn't that their kind of thing that they have, their slogan? I believe it is.
I don't know, but I can't
it's
see
about,
them putting Ziba on there because nobody knows what Ziba is.
Nobody
Right.
knows. Yeah. It'll be something more encompassing of
So I'm not sure when the
coming to
next
spend the day
SEBA
in
meeting
Sparta.
is. I had a meeting during their meeting last time, so I didn't get the chance to go. But
I'm not sure when they.
Usually
Usually
they're
it's
like
in-
And the
second
only
Tuesdays,
thing
aren't
I
they?
wanted their input on is because some of them have had billboards before
Yeah.
and that they had knowledge about, is this a good price? Is this a good location?
Is it worth it?
Is it worth it? And I know from
Well, Sandy,
I-
all in stitches, but she's not here anymore. Rox did
Phenomenal
one the other-
Woman
Okay.
did one.
Phenomenal
Rox
women
did.
and Stitches work
And
together.
yes, and so, and I know it, from what Chris has said in the past, now I haven't been to a Zeba meeting in like 8 years. But maybe, probably 8. That then it was well worth the money. So, but I don't know if that's changed or not. I just wanted their input more than anything. And to my mind, if they want to have a little part of it and want to help pay for it, why not? And if there's other, but there isn't another group. I was like, if there's another group, but there's just not.
And judging from past Zeba meetings, they don't have a lot of money for advertisers anyway, so I don't know what they would
If they would even want, maybe they don't even
Maybe
want
they
to,
wouldn't want to.
but I just wanted their input on,
Okay.
is it a good idea? Is the,
I think to me, the key things would be how long we want to run it. So if you're talking a year, then we got to definitely keep the cost down to 600 a month or every 4 weeks or something like that. And then do you want it coming out of Rochester to draw people in, or do you want it coming down from the cities to draw people in? Because I don't think we want to do one on both ends of the spectrum.
I think from what Rock said last time was
Rochester.
south, coming from south would be more beneficial,
So
but
then if we could leave that with Kurt to take the Zeba and then
Mhm.
Ken to come up with a design, maybe we could
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what their design
finalize
would
it
be.
next week, next month.
I personally don't think it'll be any better than the one we got.
No bias there.
So good.
I'm certainly not a marketing person. I'm way too analytical for that. So I'm thinking about the costs of doing it for a year.
Mhm.
And it may take a whole year to really get that good feedback on whether or not it's working and it's worth it. But I'm just a little concerned about spending $7,200 of our $7,200 budget on one thing.
sure.
So
I think our $7,200 budget is stupid. That's why I think it should be about 20,000, but
Right.
that's just me. Right.
Don't you need your phone
Sorry.
for a QR?
Instead you can do a QR code on the billboard and make a video about the town. So we could link to the video.
I don't know if that would work so good driving along the road.
I'm a
passengers are
passenger
supposed-
princess. I'd easily be able to do that.
I see, I see.
Miranda is not. Miranda drives.
So, but I'm all for contacting Ken, getting, an idea, getting kind of an illustration of what it might look like, and seeing how much Zipa wants to be involved in it from a monetary standpoint.
So let me
And maybe
contact Ken
they
next week.
don't, and
Maybe
that's
they
fine
don't.
too.
Yep.
But I just would like to get their input on, is it true? Should we do it south facing? Should we do it north facing? Should we? Do you
Maybe
think
we
it's a
just
good
need to talk to
idea?
Chris,
Yeah, maybe.
because.
Maybe you could just go talk to Chris,
Unless you have
because she's the one who
contact
had
with
the
Sandy
thing.
still.
And Chris could still take it to Ziba
Yeah,
too,
sure.
if she thought it was something they'd be interested in.
And then just to see, do you think it's a good idea? But I know from years ago that she thought it was her best dollar marketing thing that she did.
So we'll keep that on our agenda.
Yeah.
So then we will move on to C, the feasibility report.
So OWA Architects, Jacob was here with me and took measurements. The pictures that he sent me were not of what the community center could look like. They were of the actual church and had measurements like you wouldn't believe. It was pretty thorough. But I've gone through and highlighted in your packet here some items of concern. And I don't think any of these are surprising to us. If we as an EDA want this church to become a community center, obviously you would have to do several things such as, like the kitchen's not up to code. The fire suppression is not up to code. There isn't any. Plumbing, you can see when you kind of go through it, I kind of highlighted bigger ones.
Fire suppression is very expensive.
I bet it is, you know. All toilet rooms are non-compliant with the current Minnesota Accessibility Code. The existing plumbing fixture count is allowed as existing building, but the existing is
They recommend
deficient
adding
by
a toilet.
one water closet. Some certain things like there are no handrails at balcony stairs. Is he talking about those elderly stairs that go up to the?
I don't know why you want to use the upstairs area
For anything.
but
It's out of a horror movie, but it's yeah, it'd be a neat area if you open it up. I
yeah,
suppose.
the reason it was closed off is they ran the ductwork across there to heat the
Yeah, that's right.
sanctuary. So if you did that, you'd have to change the whole ductwork and everything. So I don't know if that makes any sense.
So I don't know if any of this is going to be a surprise to you, but he was, like I said, very thorough. One thing about the kitchen, obviously the kitchen's not up to code and you're not going to put a hood in there, but you could make it a serving kitchen, like you'd have,
Catering.
catering and places like that. Such things as like number 5, the accessibility ramp is in general performance with accessibility, the code, but it needs to be updated in the near future. The building itself, you know, like what I've said before, is in good shape. It's just getting it up to code.
Moisture in the basement, they said.
Yeah, there's some moisture.
And balcony.
HVAC is okay. There's no air conditioning in it.
There's not a lot of insulation in the sanctuary area.
I think you said something
The
about
walls are insulated or not. So if you wanted to use it year round, often, you'd have to probably be addressed.
Bob, would you have any knowledge of what would be done with the building if the city did not?
Well, honestly, you know, when you and I and Sarah met, you know, I got the impression that there wasn't a lot of interest anymore at that meeting. And then the next EDA meeting, I think we had you know, the grant had come through. We talked about, well, let's not shut this down, let's do the study as long as we got the grant money. And this would be beneficial for the city or for whatever else happens. So the congregation talked about pursuing something like, if you want to go online and look up Chris Dalla Lutheran Church up by Northfield. It's a church in the country. There's a cemetery next to it. Chris Dalla, they closed down, and what they did is it was a Swedish church, a beautiful church, and they developed a nonprofit, basically a preservation society for the church and cemetery. They have since purchased the little country school next door and turned it into a museum. But they created a society and raised, I think they've raised over $1 million to preserve that facility. I don't think they use it as much as we would like to see the building used here. It could be used for a community services of some type, but it can be used, I think. So our congregation has been pursuing that. We talked to one of the people from Cristala. He came and gave a little presentation. So we, not knowing what the city was going to do, we thought we better pursue other options. So that's one option. And, you know, if we want to use it for a community center along with that, you know, where we partnered with the city or something, maybe there's some ways we can get some funding jointly that would help the building, preserve the building, but that's kind of the direction the council or the congregation is going at this point, not knowing if the city wanted to do anything.
So The congregation would be up for a, like, say, a joint venture, like you said?
Well, possibly, if we form the foundation or the nonprofit preservation society and registered with the state as a nonprofit, it would be like any other nonprofit in town, but if we wanted to have some kind of operating agreement with the city or use it for a community center or keep the basement open for people to use and upstairs could come for special uses for services or weddings, whatever, we could certainly pursue that.
Yeah, they rent theirs, I'm reading, for weddings.
Okay. Northfield, you said?
It's west of Northfield,
it's
it's out in the country.
Christ and then DALA church.org. I did too, but I found it anyway.
Christ.
I thought it would be with a K because it was Swedish.
Christelle,
Yeah.
like Christ.
Yeah.
I thought it was like Dala Church out in Kenyon, Dale.
Yeah, they've tied into the history because up there they had the Jesse James gang actually went through that area. And this Wayne Quist is one of the main guys, and he's just a fireball. He's probably 85 years old, but he's still going strong, and he's done a lot of history, which I think, Zumbrota could do, and just attract people to town to visit the bridge and the church and the historical center and theater and all the good things we have here.
Interesting.
So I'm not sure what to tell you, Kurt. I got the feeling that it wasn't really something that was going to fly with the city. So we kind of went that direction. I mean, we're open to any ideas or options, I guess, and I can take it back to them.
Okay.
I will refrain from any votes that you take, obviously.
I don't know. Quorum anyway for a.
Ready
I guess we
for
could-
that, but I just don't know how we would pay for it. And that's the bottom line of it. I think it'd be a great asset. It's just thinking about how to pay for it.
The changes that would have to be made to make it code for the city.
That,
you know?
but just even, having it under our thing to pay for it.
Yeah, it's one thing to get it up to code and get it so that it's up to code, so to speak, in the way that.
We'd
you
have to
think-
hire someone to run it and
That's
do,
the
that kind
operating,
of stuff.
ongoing operating costs after that are, because, even if you're very hopeful and could get a grant or something like that to do that, get it up to code, it's still going to have an annual operating expense.
But maybe something that the city could help with writing grants,
Mhm.
work together on something like that, and keep the place
Mm-hmm.
operating and keep it in good shape.
Yeah, I think the city would help out with whatever. Yeah, such as grants or anything like that. And being on the historic register, you think it would help.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll save that vote for next month, correct? You need a vote for the city to stop pursuing it, or we're just,
Right, I don't know what
Or
we're doing.
do,
because we can't vote because we don't have quorum.
yeah, that's true. Well, do we?
What did we
What day?
last,
But they,
Can we get it?
So
what did we last, how did we leave it with the EDA?
wanted to get the feasibility report.
What was the intent? Was it just to get that and then make a decision?
Yep.
Yeah.
And is it our decision to make, or is it city council's decision to make?
Well, we haven't taken anything to the city council.
But we've got a feasibility report now, right?
Yeah.
So that can go to the city council, right?
Yeah.
And so we can just say that we've received this feasibility report. We don't necessarily have a recommendation, but
here it is.
yep, but here it is.
Yeah.
And Because it sounds like the council just needs to kind of finalize their discussion on it as well.
Okay.
But now they've got the document in front of them that we've been waiting for.
And it's not, and there is an option. You know, it's not like if you don't do something, it's, we're
You
gonna
bet.
burn it down or something.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. Yep.
I shouldn't even talk about that.
Oh, that's scary.
That was, yeah, hopefully no jinx on that. Mm.
Okay.
All right, we will move on to new business, vacancy of Terry Johnson. And as Kurt stated, Dirk has withdrawn, so we are left with Miss Tina Hostager. Is there anything that we need to do or just extend our hand to her and ask her to come back?
Sure.
I think we have to vote on it, don't we? I'd like to nominate I'll make a motion to
There you go.
nominate Tina Hostager to the vacancy formerly held by Terry Johnson.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Congratulations to Tina.
She'll be very excited. She's very bored.
Yeah.
I'm glad she's doing well.
Yeah, she feels real good, so.
And now we can discuss
Yeah.
if there's anything further on the Keller Bartman project.
Sure.
Situation. I guess the one thing that bothers me a little bit is that, and I think the first time we heard about that was last month, and it was from you, as kind of not an afterthought, but you know what I mean? Does the bank still own the property?
Still owns the property.
Okay. And then I went to the zoning meeting because we have a building there. And I had not seen their plan or anything until that night. I admire Keller Bartman. I think they're very smart business people. I think the big thing is, for me, was the parking situation. And I've looked on their website, and I looked at all their places because I work in Red Wing. I've seen what they did in Cannon Falls. I think Zumbrota is the only community that I can see where we have all their outside parking that is under their building that they are required to have for 1.5 to 2 cars per unit, has been on their own property in these other locations. I think Zumbrota is the only location where the city parking has fulfilled that obligation for them. And with the tight parking we have downtown here now, that was my main concern. I appreciate what they're trying to do, the other thing that really bothers me is why the EDA wasn't involved in some kind of review of all this beforehand. Isn't that our jobs? And,
Well, it's just gotten to planning right now. That's the only thing.
okay,
The EDA will eventually be a part of it if it goes through
EA has
planning.
to
Then they'll
TIF
get,
and all that.
yeah, TIF.
That's where he's saying though, but that's after it's been sold and approved, then EDA becomes involved.
Right.
So I'm with you. I'm struggling with that too,
Yeah.
but
Seems like we should
unfortunately,
be
if the
part of the
bank
review.
wants to sell
Yeah.
the property to them, like we don't get a
No,
say
no.
in that. Unless the council takes a recommendation of the planning and zoning, because planning and zoning turned it down.
Right.
So if the council takes that recommendation, then the sale can't go through. It's done.
That's
But if
true.
the council chooses to do something different, then
Yeah.
it can go through.
I think a lot of it, I'm not trying to make any excuses or anything, I'm just trying to look at it from a citizen's standpoint. And I think a lot of it is so much contingencies. Everything is contingencies. They can't apply for the grant without it being rezoned. So that rezoning is contingent, because if they don't get the grant, they're not going to buy the building, so it reverts back. There's just so many contingencies in it, and I realize it happens very, very fast. But apparently, the end of this month is when those dollars, they have to have an
Well,
application in for
and
those
the
dollars.
grant, I think, was just to subsidize a few of the apartments to make them more affordable.
Workforce housing, yeah,
They could
that's,
still build the apartment and not have subsidized apartments without the grant, I'm assuming. So
that could be, I
it could
don't
be all
know where.
market rate. They wouldn't need the grant for that. So I suppose they could still proceed if the council grants the zoning change. But again, parking, we have a store up in Excelsior and parking is horrible. It is horrible, and we're approaching that downtown, to be honest. So that's my concern.
Here's my question. So I'm just thinking about how people park downtown. So I was going to Hub and I'm looking at the parking and it's all empty. On West Avenue, it's empty during the day mostly, except for a few of the workers park there. And then I was looking at the apartment building, their new other one, and there's very few cars that are parked on the street from that. It's bigger than this one's gonna be. So I'm just wondering, I know we're concerned about parking, but they're not gonna be parking on Main Street. And isn't that where we have the most problems of parking?
No, well.
Where do all the employees park? They'll be
Yeah,
behind
it's
that lot.
employees, it's the people that live, I mean, they've been living above our buildings downtown forever. And they've always used, in part, city parking, mostly city parking.
Sure.
And so that is a concern.
Well, so you think that they're gonna park in the city parking behind the building?
That's what, from the planning and zoning meeting, that's what the Keller Bartman design utilized. Because on that spot, they don't have enough parking. They're underground parking. So they would
If you
use
look,
that
if
city
you look
parking.
at the new building they put up, and you studied that, I think there's 56 units or whatever in that apartment. And there's a few parking spots out back. They generally cannot get the full 56 underneath. So they've got to use outside parking to accommodate the rules and regulations. They have to use the street to do that. And that's city property. So if we give up, if they basically build out to the edges because it's a PUD, they don't have to follow setback rules. That forces the parking out onto city property, which is going to congest what we already have. And Keller Bartman was not at the meeting the other night, so they couldn't help explain it, which would have been nice, but they couldn't be there apparently. But anyway, so that's the reason.
So all those issues that were brought up with parking, and there were other issues as well. So they were given to Keller Bartman, and so they'll hopefully do a better job tomorrow to tell everybody that. So I hope.
Explaining it more.
Anything else?
No, I just.
No other reports or anything further with the Anderson vet?
Haven't heard anything from them. I spoke to them about it. No.
How about the Mexican place? Anything
That's
more?
another one is like I said, offered them information on the loan.
But nothing's been returned. Okay.
That's why they're not open yet. It's a money, a financial, or we don't know. Just keep saying,
They have a
coming soon.
plumbing issue. I know
Oh.
that they're getting a permit for grease trap or something like that, so.
Oh, sure, it
The
had,
previous owners, the previous tenants replaced the hood without getting a
Oh,
permit,
that's right.
inspected or anything.
nice.
Unbeknownst to them, they had no idea.
Yeah.
So now they've run into issues with the state because the state said, "Well, we inspect that." And they're like, "Well, you didn't know."
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Fire suppression issues.
Hey, we can adjourn. I'm still waiting for my gavel. Kurt.
Bring it in.
Have a good flight, Dave.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm very jealous. I want to go.